You may remember the case and the firestorm of controversy that followed it. A federal court judge was presiding over a sexual assault trial in 2014, and he asked the alleged victim why she, quote, couldn't keep her knees together. It was one of a series of cases that led Rona Ambrose, former interim Conservative leader, to table a private member's bill before leaving politics. Bill C-337 would require all judges to undergo sexual assault training. The bill passed the House, but is now stalled in the Senate nearly 2 years later. What's the holdup? Is Ms. Ambrose confident it will still get through? She joins us now in studio. Hi, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. A year ago, you told my colleague Chris Hall on CBC's The House that the delay in passing your bill, quote, made your blood boil. How are you feeling now, 1 year later, with not a lot of more progress on it?
You know, it is very upsetting because there's a lot of women's groups that represent rape victims, that represent those who want to see us build more confidence in the justice system. I mean, think about the sobering statistic. 1 in 10 women who are raped or sexually assaulted do not come forward. And when asked why they don't come forward, they say it's because they don't have confidence in the system. And it's because of the, some of the things that happen in the system. Many of them feel re-victimized, but you mentioned the way perhaps they'd be treated in a courtroom. So my bill, the idea behind it is just that if you want to become a judge, you actually have to undertake sexual assault law training and rape mythology training. Things like, you would never say, why didn't you keep your legs closed? Or why did you wear that little short skirt to the bar? You know, that must have, made that guy want to rape you. I mean, things like that. It's all about dealing with the rape mythology, but also making sure that the people that sit on the bench and preside over these cases, which already are extremely traumatic for women and men to go through who are victims, have training. So to me, it's sort of shocking because I think, when was the last time that someone said further education and further training was a bad thing? So we continue to press on. There are a lot of people in the Senate that do support this bill. It's now at committee 2 years later. It's in front of the Legal Affairs Committee. And there are people that are hopefully going to champion to bring it forward, and it'll at some point pass. The interesting thing is, if you look at the hyper-partisan chamber of the House of Commons,
had a much easier time getting through
4 months. We discussed it at committee, it was amended, all the parties came together, everybody decided this is the right thing to do, and we passed it within 4 months, even after studying it. And it's been 2 years. It's been stuck in the Senate.
And I find it interesting because you highlighted that it is past second reading and it is at committee stage. We tried today to try and find out what date they had assigned to when they would talk about it, when they would be debating it at committee, and we can't find one. Does that frustrate you?
Well, it does. I didn't know that. I don't call them all the time because, I'm glad you did, though. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. I don't know. At some point, it would get called, hopefully, to committee. They will discuss it because it's a private member's bill, and because it's actually been studied already in the House of Commons. It's possible that it could be done quite quickly. So my hope is that there are some champions. I mean, Raynell Andreychuk was the senator who was carrying this bill through the Senate. She's a former judge herself, who is a strong believer in seeing this kind of further education for those who want to sit on the bench. And, you can talk to so many legal scholars in this area, and they'll say that these kinds of cases around sexual assault are different because they are so traumatic and so difficult to manage. And there's so much mythology around them and so many, misinterpretations and misinformation about how a woman dresses, what she looks like, certain language that a judge might use that will, completely upset or offend a potential victim. So it's not about tipping the scales in favor of an alleged victim. It's about actually creating confidence in the system. I've said all along that it'll be the Judicial Council, it'll be the lawyers themselves, and they're within their community that comes up with the right kind of training. But we want to see that it's mandatory, and we want to know that everyone who is appointed to sit on the bench gets this kind of training.
There were some concerns expressed by the sort of judicial arm of things that this would be too much interference from the legislative branch. What is your response to that?
My response is that this isn't about targeting judges sitting on the bench. It's about targeting lawyers who want to be appointed one day. And someone said to me, well, what if I am appointed to the tax court, but you're making me take training in sexual assault law? And I said, you know what, maybe you'll be a better human being. I mean, really, why is this such a difficult thing to wrap your head around? I mean, to me, I think if you are appointed and you happen to preside over a sexual assault case, these are much different than a lot of other kinds of cases, and there is a lot of issue around confidence in the system about women and men not coming forward to report abuse and literally just saying, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm not going through that system. I've seen that, you know, people don't care, people aren't treated fairly, they don't understand what I've been through, and so forget it. I'm not even going to try. So that's not how we want to see our justice system operate. When
it appeared to be sort of stuck in the Senate the first time about a year ago, you offered to meet with senators. Did any of them reach out and try to meet with you?
No. It was really shocking. Really shocking.
What do you think? Like, what do you think is behind this? Why?
I think it's just politics. I'm hoping that 2 years later that's changed. I really do, because, you know, I've said to them, you know, if you're a liberal, you know, Justin Trudeau supported this bill. If you are on the left of the spectrum, you know, the NDP has championed this bill. You know, we have support from all kinds of women's groups, and, you know, so I just keep imploring them to please take another look at it. It's now at committee, so that means they are willing to take a look at it. But there is good news that one of the things I did while we were going through this was to write to every attorney general across the country and ask them to consider doing this at the provincial level, because there's even, of course, a lot more cases of sexual assault dealt with in provincial courts. And one of the people that took up the cause was Jamie Fox, who is an MLA. He's a former leader of the PC party and now an MLA in PEI, and he put forward Bill 110. And he has done an extraordinary job. And now I'm heading to PEI on Thursday, tomorrow, and to speak on the floor of the legislature of the PEI. It looks like potentially PEI might be the first government, Liberal government, to pass this bill with all of the good work of progressive conservative MLA Jamie Fox. So let's hope this creates some momentum.
Yeah, I wonder if the province there does pass and adopt that legislation, does that add pressure federally to do the same, or does it sort of alleviate the pressure at all, that and perhaps some senators might take the view, well, they can go province by province? I
hope it does a little bit. I mean, I appreciate that might be their sentiment, that, oh, just let the provinces do it. But this really is about federal leadership also. It's about federal leadership and provincial leadership. It's about sending a signal that we do think that people that are appointed to the bench should have training in sexual assault law, because these are cases that are extremely delicate, extremely complex, and they need to be treated that way. And people, as somebody who decides to take, if someone is victimized, they decide to take their case forward, the least that we can say to them is, if you go into a courtroom, the judge that presides over your case will actually know the law, will actually have studied the law, and is trained in sexual assault law. And today it happens that there are cases that go before judges that have not. And that, I just don't think that should happen.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Ms. Ambrose.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.